Okay, we are recording. You wanted to start it at 4:09, or what time is it?
It's 4:11. Start the meeting at 4:11.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Call the roll?
Yes.
Okay. Call to order, roll call, and agenda changes. Luam Tesfaye.
Present.
Luam, present. Lila Hood,
Present.
present. Chair Wolf,
Present.
Chair Wolf present. Chris Hyland,
Present.
Chris Hyland present. Member Yankee,
Present.
Member Yankee present. Member Hinsey,
Present.
Member Hinsey present. Member Josh Wolf,
Present.
Josh Wolf present. We have a quorum.
Okay, great. Are there any changes or adjustments to the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Let's start with the opening preamble.
Shall I read that, sir?
Yes.
Remote access to information and participation. In accordance with Governor Newsom's Executive Order number N-33-20, declaring a state of emergency regarding COVID-19 outbreak, and Mayor London and Breed's proclamation declaring a local emergency issued on February 25th, 2020, including the guidance for gatherings issued by the San Francisco Department of Public Health officer, aggressive directives were issued to reduce the spread of COVID-19. On March 17, 2020, the Board of Supervisors authorized their board and committee meetings to convene remotely via Microsoft Teams and will allow remote public comment via teleconference. Members of the public may participate by phone or may submit their comments by email to cheryl.leger@sfgov.org. All comments received will be made a part of the official record. Sunshine Ordinance Task Force agendas and their associated documents are available at website sfbos.org/sunshine. Public comment call-in. Telephone number 1-415-906-4659. Meeting ID 484-583-694#. As the COVID-19 disease progresses, please visit the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force website regularly to be updated on the current situation as it affects the legislative process. Do you want to read meeting decorum?
Yeah, meeting decorum. Any member of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force may call for decorum due to disorderly conduct of meeting participants. Persons who engage in threatening and or menacing behavior may be asked to leave. Okay, let's call the next item.
Item number 2, approval of minutes from the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force March 4, 2020 and June 23, 2020 meetings.
Okay, let's take them separately.
Okay.
The March 4th meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve them.
Would you say your name, please?
Matt.
Matt Yankee.
Moved by Matt. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I see Josh Wolf moving his lips, but he's on mute.
All second by Josh Wolf.
Okay. Moved by Member Yankee, second by Vice Chair Josh Wolf. Are there any changes or adjustments to the minutes, March 4th? Hearing none, is there any public comment on the minutes of March 4th? And can someone please process the public comment, if any?
Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment?
Hold on a second. Member Tesfaye, you have your hand up. Did you want to speak? Okay, thank you. So is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none.
I would just note that there are some people on the phone lines right now who have their lines muted. If you would like to unmute your line for public comment, press *6 at this time, and you can make public comment. Let's give them a few moments.
Okay.
Are there any members of the public who wish to make public comment at this time? Please please state so at this moment.
Yes, Anonymous here. This is general public comment, or is it just meeting minutes? I apologize.
This is public comment with regard to the March 4 meeting minutes.
Oh, never mind then. Never mind.
Okay, seeing no public comment is closed. Can we take the minutes of March 4th, 2020 by acclamation? Seeing no objection, the motion is approved. And the next one?
June 23rd, 2020.
So I'm going to add, there are some adjustments that need to be made in these minutes for June 23rd. I'm going to ask that we approve them in concept, but I'm going to bring them back for final approval at the next meeting. Are there any changes or okay, let's get a motion on that.
Motion to bring back at the next task force meeting.
Well, I want to approve them in concept, just to notate that a meeting did happen. That usually is how you do it. So it would be let's get it on the floor, and then I'll move to we'll do some work after that. So is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 23rd?
This is Lila. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 23rd.
Okay, moved by Member LaHood. Is there a second?
I'll second it. This is Member Testify.
Second by Member Testify. Okay, there are some adjustments that need to be made in these minutes, and I was not able to finish the work that I had to submit on it, but I don't feel comfortable approving them to form at this meeting, but would just like to approve them in that. It's just to acknowledge and affirm that a meeting did happen on June 23rd and bring these minutes back at the next meeting. Are there any concerns? Okay.
As the person who motioned to approve, do I need to accept the amendment?
Yeah. Yes, please.
This is Lila. I accept the amendment to the motion.
And the second, Member Testify?
Seconded again.
Okay, great. Are there any changes, any other discussion, changes, adjustments to the agenda, to these minutes as anybody has reviewed from the task force? Okay, hearing none, let's go to public comment.
Yes, Anonymous.
Go ahead.
Let me read it. I got to read. Oh, public comment on the minutes?
Yeah, on the minutes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Anonymous.
Okay. It would be, I think it would be helpful for the public to understand what, if it's just like a trivial error in the minutes or something is substantively wrong with them, so we could comment on it. Maybe we don't need to comment now, we'll just comment in the future, but it would be helpful to know what you believe is the problem. Thank you.
Okay. There are, well, most of the items that were included are correct. There are some missing, the way it's written, there's some missing narrative that connects certain items together. And I'm interested in let's say in item 4 of those minutes on page, well, I don't have the PDF page numbers on here, but it's the page of the 23rd minutes. It would be page 3, where I'm listing all these items. It would read a lot clearer if they were in bullet format. And I want to adjust that format and make some corrections in some of the other narrative. Like I said, I wasn't able to finish due to a personal issue, but that's what I plan on doing. Okay, any other public comment? I'm sorry, what is the push buttons on the phone to unmute? *6? Is that right?
That is correct.
Yes.
*6
Okay.
to unmute. The majority of the callers have unmuted themselves already.
Okay, great. Seeing no further public comment, can we take this by acclamation?
It's only for the minutes, public comment, only for the minutes. Is that correct?
Only, yes, that's correct. Only for the minutes. Okay, seeing no further public comment, can we take this motion by acclamation? Okay, hearing no objections, the motion is approved. Okay, let's go to the next item.
Item number 3, public comment. Members of the public may address the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force on matters that are within the task force jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda.
Okay. General public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to address us?
Anonymous number 1 on your queue.
Am I anonymous number 1? I'm anonymous number 2. Hello?
Yes, acknowledged.
Okay, I'll read my statement if I'm, okay. According to the most recent...
Wait a
US
minute, hold on. We're taking a queue, so anonymous number 1 will be first. We just want to see who else is, who wants to speak. So let's take anonymous number 1 first. Is the clock ready, Cheryl?
Yes.
Okay, great. Go ahead, anonymous number 1.
Good evening, task force members. Once again, thank you for holding this meeting. I understand that the board is in the process of both revising the ordinance nomination procedures, the task force nomination procedures, and hopefully nominating a slate soon. I know you have stayed on longer than your actual appointed term, and for that, thank you for continuing your public service. Now you're down to 7, so I hope that the board replenishes the full task force to be up to 11. One of the, since we aren't yet back at complaints, I'm just going to discuss one set of records that the city has continued to refuse to provide, and those are the text messages for Mayor London Breed. And we know that she uses text messages to issue orders to various department heads. At least one department has turned over those text messages, even though London Breed claims they do not exist. We're continuing to fight to get those records. There is no reason that the mayor should be destroying public records of her communications, issuing orders to, among others, SFPD Chief Scott. And I hope you do take up these matters when you're able to hear complaints again. Thank you very much.
Okay, anonymous number 2.
Okay, am I live?
Yes, you
Yes.
are.
Go
We
ahead.
can hear you.
Thank you for meeting. I got 2 items of concern. One is the status of complaints that already have been filed prior to March and how you will process them. And the other item has to do with the internet. So I'm reading a statement here. According to most recent U.S. census, more than 100,000 San Franciscans do not have home internet access. I have heard much discussion at task force meetings about the absence of computer availability among the San Francisco population as a whole. This is not the same as the absence of internet access. In most cases, individuals need and use a computer to access the internet but owning a computer does not usually bring with it access to the internet. In private homes, internet access usually comes with an additional cost that low-income individuals such as myself cannot afford. So to reiterate, owning a computer does not entail ipso facto involving themselves with internet access. This is all about the digital divide. One might even say regular home internet access is a privilege that comes with moderate to high income, not with computer ownership. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? General public comment for items not on the agenda?
Yes, this is Richard Rossman.
All right, is the clock ready?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, this is Richard Rossman. I don't have to be anonymous. Yesterday, the MTA had a special board meeting, and they had no public comment like this, items not on the agenda. And they said that since it's a special meeting, that they do not have to have public comment on items not on the agenda. And I wanted to know if this is true, and if it is true, then the Sunshine Ordinance needs to be changed. They had everything else on the comment on the agenda, so I don't know why they didn't have this on the agenda. And I hope either one of the commissioners or the staff, and I emailed the staff and they weren't very helpful in the Board of Supervisors. They answered the email, but they just said come to this meeting. So I hope you look into this issue, and if the ordinance needs to be changed, please change it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Speaker. Are there any other general public comment for items not on the agenda? If you wish to unmute, it's *6. Okay, seeing none, public comment is closed. Thank you very much, speakers. Okay, let's call the next item.
Okay. Item number 4, file number 20072, for Board of Supervisors file number 20052, authorizing Sunshine Ordinance Task Force to meet in July 2020 and inclusive of Administrative Chapter 67, but not limited to Administrative Code 6730C, SF Sunshine Ordinance. Hearing to consider the impact of emergency orders due to COVID-19, which resulted in the temporary suspension of various provisions of the California Public Records Act, the Ralph M. Brown Open Meetings Act, San Francisco Sunshine Ordinance, and other related laws and statutes that may apply within the jurisdiction of Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. Bullet points. Public records requests delayed during the emergency, issues related to lack of meeting postings, lack of access to meetings during the emergency, planning and standards for future emergencies.
Okay. So this is a continuation. Item is continued. I think we can adjust the title of this because now the mayor has allowed all meeting bodies to be able to meet without any encumbrance or restriction. So I think we can, you don't need to mention the Board of Supervisors file anymore, considering actually that's been continued on their agenda for any future use. Okay, so we have left off. So I just want to start out by saying that the recommendations that we have been working on for the past 2 meetings, I had hoped to had them delivered by the end of last week. Unfortunately, I had a household member that tested positive for coronavirus, and it threw my entire household into a kind of a tailspin for 5 days or so. So, so I was unable to finish formatting and getting those into ready for delivery. So they will be tomorrow, and will include everything that was mentioned in the past two meetings. Where we stand right now is, where are my notes here? We have ongoing work. We have Member LaHood working on delays of public records requests. We have Member Hinsey on adding American Sign Language interpretation and training for meeting participants to help those interpreters. We have Member Tesfaye working on one-stop shop. We have Member Wolf on tools for virtual conference, which we more or less covered the last meeting, but we can review. We have myself with regards to offices that are active in whole or in part, and also notating who is and who is not on or off the clock for offices that are claiming to be open. And then and then one last one was for me, monitoring and enforcement. Okay, so shall we take it from the top? Member LaHood.
I am ready.
Go for it.
So I, with Cheryl's assistance, I requested all of the complaints that had been filed since February 25th. And it was very interesting. There were a total of 14. And based on the information I had, which was essentially the initial filing, and I know Cheryl goes back and forth with people, and sometimes they submit additional information, but based on what was presented, of the 14 complaints, there was one that definitely had to do with pandemic-related issues, two that probably don't, but might, and I only say that because it wasn't clear from the request what the requesters were looking for, but the vast majority did not have anything to do with people seeking information related to things that were going on during the pandemic. In fact, there were several that were very familiar to me. They were related to ongoing request issues, in some cases, new filings by people we've heard from before, or issues with receiving records that we had said that they should receive. So the one thing that was interesting to me is the one that was very clearly related to what's going on now was a complaint about the way meetings are noticed and the instructions for public comment and access regarding people's ability to make public comment now that meetings are being handled virtually. Even though we only received one complaint on this, this very much echoed things that we've heard during public comment in the past two meetings. So I would say, based on my research, those are the issues that the public access and ability for people to comment during proceedings like this seems to be of serious concern. Otherwise, what I'm seeing in terms of complaints is very similar to what we always see, and there's nothing that seems new or different or uncharacteristic. It just seems like regular Sunshine Ordinance complaints. So that is my report.
Okay, with regards to delay of records requests, have you found any or have any recommendations with regards to that?
I mean, honestly, it does not seem to me, based on what I've read, that the delay is beyond what we typically deal with. So in that sense, we would like departments to be quicker in their compliance. Now, what is not reflected here is people who may have submitted requests, and because of what's going on in the pandemic, people are perhaps being more patient on their own and not filing complaints. We're not going to be able to capture that unless you want me to go through and request all of the public records requests that have gone to every department but have not generated complaints, which seems to me like an excessive amount of work unless we want to do that kind of project, or if you'd like me to do a sampling of a couple of departments.
Well, I guess I would say that if we were to provide a reminder,
Mm-hmm.
that would be kind of explicit into what that means with regards to records requests at this time, and with regards to which offices are open or closed, what is
I
their
agree.
process,
Yes.
that kind of thing. I
Yes.
think that would be helpful as a recommendation. We're trying to find kind of a catch-all on these recommendations so that we don't have to kind of get into the weeds right now. So if we can provide as much of a broad brushstroke that applies to every city office and department and agency, that would be at least a starting point, umbrella kind of policy or request or urging, however the Board of Supervisors seek to take action on it.
I agree. To me seemed to have already been captured in our earlier conversation and what was documented in our potential or the recommendations we were considering sending to the board. I guess what I was saying is beyond that, I have not identified any concerning trends about, through that we've received through complaints, other than I'd like to note that the access to public meetings, the technological barriers seem to concern. As I said, it came up in one specific complaint, and we've heard it at multiple at our recent meetings. So I think that's something that we do need to emphasize and make sure is addressed sufficiently. Okay.
Task force members, have you had any personal experiences or members of the public that have approached you on delays regarding records requests as examples?
I have not. This is member Testify. So I guess it's not very responsive to your question. I did get some outreach regarding Open Meeting Act, but not public records requests. So.
Okay, then we'll just continue with our ongoing recommendation, and as I'm cleaning up the work that I'm doing on drafting this, I'll make it as explicit as possible with regards to reminding folks about the requirements of the ordinance.
Chair Wolf?
Yes, who's speaking?
One last thing. I didn't repeat what I had said at a previous meeting, but there was the issue that I brought up regarding the city not wanting to release information about what they perceive to be ongoing contract negotiations, even though there were contracts that were agreed, and then they were saying they wouldn't release that information because additional contracts were being negotiated with similar entities. So that issue still stands, but I have not heard of any other ones that I would add to that category.
Okay, yes, I've included that explicitly with that example. So that is definitely in the recommendations. Okay, let's move to Member Hensey.
Okay, sorry, I had trouble unmuting.
No sweat. Take your time.
So, I am going to meet with the Director of the Mayor's Office on Disability next Wednesday. Unfortunately, I didn't quite get to it this week. At this time, I think that the recommendation for ASL interpreters and perhaps consulting with the Mayor's Office on Disability regarding their training is sufficient for a recommendation on this item. The other thing, and this sort of overlaps with what Member Johnson is working on, is the accessibility of the various remote platforms and picking one that might be the most accessible. And a couple meetings ago, Member Wolf and I said that we would work together on that.
Yeah.
So
okay. I would like to note that it seems that almost all press conferences have ASL interpreters,
Yes.
but no other meetings that
Right.
I've attended, which I find
Right.
interesting. When things are that headline, high profile, public facing, they have them. But with regards to regular meetings, we don't. And I think I agree with you. I think it's important to do that. Members, anything else on this? I'm wondering if we wouldn't make a general recommendation for including ASL interpretation on all public meetings at this time, and just get that included in the letter.
Right. I thought that was what we were headed for, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I think based upon what we're looking at here and adding ASL and additional training for participants to help the interpreters, like speaking slower and clearer,
Right. Yeah.
that kind of thing. I think we can move ahead. It's pretty obvious, and unless there's something very specific that we need to get deeper in the weeds for, I think you and I will just continue reviewing and
yeah,
working
that
on
sounds good.
Okay, great.
Through the chair?
Yeah, go ahead, Member Vice Chair Wolf.
I guess I'm trying to understand, is this for integrating ASL into all public meetings or just the Board of Supervisors public meetings? I think it's important to recognize that when we've been having real world meetings, I don't know whether there's the ability for, if there was a member of the public that was deaf, to bring in an ASL interpreter, but I haven't seen an ASL interpreter at our meetings, and I'm just trying to understand whether this is about improving access beyond parity or what the sort of goals here are.
So the answer to that is that for regular public meetings that are happening in person, people can request accommodation on demand. So if they contact us ahead of time and they say, I'm hearing impaired or I am deaf and I request ASL, then an interpreter would be provided. I think almost all the hearing rooms have infrared or wireless headphones for people who are hearing impaired, where they need to hear it louder. So I think all the rooms have been outfitted with that functionality. With regards to and any other accommodation, but I think for the purposes of virtual, I think I guess it could be done on parity for on demand, but I think not knowing as people just show up, I think it might be better for this period of time for them to provide ASL for the virtual meetings. And if we want to talk about in parity with the press conferences, if you're going to do it as a city function for providing ASL for online programming of any sort, then public meetings is part of that programming.
And I guess my follow-up then is, what is the difference in terms of what communities are served between ASL, from providing ASL versus providing closed captioning?
So I guess the point here is whether the meeting is broadcasted in video over SF.gov TV.
Right.
If it is, then there's closed captioning happening there. For those meetings, and this I'm not sure about this, for those meetings that are not being broadcast by video, then there is no need for closed captioning.
Right. And some folks in the deaf community, they don't read the closed captioning, so they still would need ASL anyway.
Right.
Because, yeah.
Right.
ASL is not that good sometimes. I mean,
What I
the
was
closed
Caption,
captioning.
yeah.
is what percentage of the people that would be served by ASL would not be served by providing live on-screen captioning?
Some would not know because they can't read the caption.
Yeah, if you have there the closed captioning sometimes is not that good, and especially if it's in a different language and people know ASL, but maybe they don't
English,
read
yeah.
English. There's that scenario. So I don't want, like I said, I don't want to terribly get in too much in the weeds. I think requesting ASL in general, because that is what's being provided elsewhere
Right.
on video formats. I think that's a good starting point. I think once that begins to happen, and in subsequent meetings of ours, and maybe the work that Member Hinsey and I do with the Mayor's Office of Disability to come, will identify other needs or other ways to do things, as your suggestion, Vice Chair Wolf.
Sure. This will come back when we get to my item, which is why these questions at this point.
Okay, great. Perfect. Okay, members, any other discussion comments around this item? Okay, seeing none. Let's go to Member Tesfaye.
Hi. So far, not too much progress on my end. I've been really focused on the recruitment for the person filling my position, interviewing candidates, discussing application process, bringing a potential person nominee to the board for League of Women Voters board for approval. But so far, I can report that I have made contact with Allison Washburn. She reached out to me about the one-stop shop opportunity in order to do some brainstorming, and so I'm planning on engaging with her and seeing if we can maybe even pull in a couple of other league members to brainstorm on this issue. We have a number of league members that are interested in sunshine issues, so hopefully I can report back next time.
Okay, anything on the one-stop shop? Anything additional you want to add? Or is there any new items to recommend to the Board of Supervisors?
No. So the plan is for me to brainstorm with Allison and come up with an actual work plan. I think it'll be quite a while before we come up with a specific recommendation in order to come up with like a thorough recommendation that is supported by, you know, the league's research on sunshine issues. Okay,
great. So we'll maintain.
I have a quick question. What is Allison's last name?
Washburn.
Yeah, Washburn. Yes, she reached out to me last week about brainstorming on this issue and potentially bringing in other league members to work on the effort as well and come up with a mock-up or an idea for a work plan. As I had mentioned at our last meeting, a number of league members that are on our advocacy committee are familiar with the idea about the one-stop shop. We came up with it together, but coming up with, you know, a real work plan for executing something like that, you know, is not something that can get done in 2 weeks. So.
Okay, great. All right. Well, we'll continue to support Supervisor Fewer's resolution that was approved by the Board of Supervisors that the league helped out and the Society of Professional Journalists helped out with, right?
It was actually San Franciscans for Sunshine.
Sunshine, okay.
And in addition to the League of Women Voters, they were the ones who were partnered with us on that.
Oh, okay, great. So we'll continue to recommend and support those items in that resolution, and we'll wait for your additional submission. Any other members have any comment on this? Okay. note here. Okay. Next is Vice Chair Wolf.
All right. So last time we talked, we kind of discussed the pros and cons of creating a single platform that we recommend versus identifying a sort of list of categories that would be necessary or features that would be necessary to bring the online meetings as close to parity as possible. And so I made a list of 10 things that appear to address some of the things that don't work in some existing software, work in others. I'm not sure there's actually a piece of software that meets these 10 things, but I figured I'd start with this list of 10. And if people think it makes sense, we can add to it, subtract to it, and so forth. So the first thing...
Go slow. Go slow.
The first thing is an unlimited number of viewers. I suppose it doesn't need to be technically over 1 billion viewers because that's not possible, but close to unlimited. The second thing is the ability to have the viewers, the public, raise their hands in order to participate in public comment. The third thing is the ability to mute the public except when they're called on to participate in public comment. Fourth, it needs to support video and audio across all common platforms, iOS, macOS, Android, and Windows. 5, it needs to facilitate call-in functionality for those without web access or would prefer to dial in. 6, the recording needs to be made available as a file that can be uploaded immediately onto the web.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The software needs to immediately make a video file available that can be uploaded onto the web. Alternatively, it could automatically upload those files, which would be preferable. But does that make sense?
Yes.
Great. 7, it needs, this is where I was talking, facilitating automated closed captioning. There are software with a fairly reliable AI closed captioning that is done live. It obviously does make some mistakes, but I've seen human closed captioning make a lot of mistakes as well. But obviously that would not address the issues around ASL that don't work for people that can't read the titles. Number 8 can be ported to live video broadcast over SFG TV. 9, the ability to turn off text chat features. Alternatively, there needs to be a process to memorialize any comments made in chats, whether private or public, between the members so that that can be available for public record. And number 10 is that it needs to not record phone numbers of the public participants who call in. We have 2 people on the line who are anonymous, but whether they realized it or not when they called in, their phone number was registered in the system, and it's not that much work to take a phone number and figure out who that person is. So the system should have a way of masking phone numbers of people that call in. Generally speaking, when you provide some sort of information to the city and then it becomes as a public citizen and you then file a public records request for that information, we've seen them more often than not seek to block those numbers, and I think avoiding systems that record them in the first place automatically makes sense. So those are the 10 points that I came up with.
I have a question. With regards to the last point, do you know if the kind of what do they call it? It's kind of a key. A number, it's a symbol and a set of numbers to turn off caller ID. Do you know if that works for these kinds of systems?
It definitely would work for these kinds of systems. The issue is that I don't think it's fair to expect the public to know that they need to block their caller ID to not expose their phone numbers.
Okay, so just overall, across the board, mask all phone numbers for folks that call in, as far as turn off the caller ID.
Right. Don't make the numbers show up on the system. I don't believe Zoom shows up like that, although maybe
it does.
Okay. It didn't used to, but I guess they switched that to make it less confusing.
Yeah. It just makes it difficult then how you track what would replace that. So I guess it would be, they would have to research it with the platform company or designers to try and figure that out, right?
Yeah, I mean, the ideal solution would be the first caller would be caller 1, the second caller would be caller 2, the third caller would be caller 3. Obviously, if they log in through a web portal, they can type their name in or type in anonymous. But when it comes to the callers, some sort of pseudonymous process to mask their phone numbers feels like potentially an imperative, but I don't know. I hope we can hear from the general public that's on the line about how they feel about that later on.
Yeah, just not being able to see a person, and there's got to be some way virtually to identify them if we're not going to mask. If we're going to we're going to request masking the phone numbers, then it should be replaced by some other identifier. So that way, whoever is trying to keep track of who's first, who's second, it's going to be hard to discern it by voice and keep track of who's who.
There needs to be some sort of system that when you call in, it tells you you are caller 1, or your animal of the day is the cheetah, so you know that you're cheetah, whatever.
Okay.
The reality is that I don't believe there is a piece of software that meets all 10 of these needs. But these needs are essentially to keep in line with the public, the state public records and Brown Act, as well as our Sunshine Ordinance. So conceivably, this is a tool that could serve several hundred governments across the state if San Francisco could get it to actually exist.
So I will notate that for the Board of Supervisors, what they use, I think in either Cheryl or Victor can correct me, still using the AT&T phone bridge, and whatever phone bridge that they're using to bridge into the meeting, when you call, it puts you into a queue, and then the clerk for the Board of Supervisors will just unmute them one at a time based upon what they have it basically on a screen, and or they can do it, I don't know, maybe they do it through the phone itself, and then it's just next speaker, your turn, without identifying them, that kind of thing. So if there already is a system in play, I guess the idea is if there's a system in place, standardize that for everybody, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Anybody else on the subject?
Member Josh Wolf.
Go ahead, Member Hinton.
I just want to ask, these sound like a great 10 things. Are they in any order of personal priority for you, or did you just come up with 10 things?
I mean, I made a list of all the things that came up and had 9 things, and then I noticed we had these anonymous people with phone numbers, and that became the 10th thing.
Okay.
Josh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you repeat items 3 and 4 that you were discussing?
Sure, let me move over to the right screen. 3 is the ability to mute the public except when called on to participate in public comment. Are you ready for 4? And 4 is cross-platform compatibility, iOS, macOS, Android, Windows.
Cross-platform compatibility what?
iOS, which is, an iPhone, macOS, Android, and Windows. I think those are the only worlds people live in these days.
Okay. Any other discussion or comments on this before I open it up for public comment? Okay, seeing none, let's open for public comment. If you wish for public comment, you can unmute yourself by pressing *6. And either Cheryl or Victor, if you can manage the queue, I'd appreciate it.
Itemist number 2 would like to speak.
Victor? Did Victor mute himself?
I think so. Go ahead, Cheryl. Why don't you run it because you have the clock.
All right. You're anonymous number 2?
Yes.
Okay, I got the clock. You're ready to go.
All right. I'm not sure this is on topic, but it would greatly help me understand what's going. Let me put it this way. I couldn't understand the way you enunciated the mayor's position, but could you tell us whether all of the emergency restrictions that the mayor placed on the Sunshine Ordinance functions and the law have been lifted? That's important for me to understand. That's critical to your going forward, in my opinion, and I think I hope my question is clear. Thank you.
Bruce, you want to address that?
I'll address it at the end.
Okay.
Any other public comment?
Oh, hello.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello, hi. This is Jenny Say, and I wanted to talk about the about the technology part, about the 10 points, and how another point I would like to recommend is the ability to see all the elected officials during meetings. I think that's definitely been something I've noticed, especially in like Board of Supervisors meetings where you don't get to see all the Board of Supervisors, which is really frustrating because it's a public meeting. And so I kind of want, especially on the technical side, that, we were able to, as we're in these like public meetings, to actually see, all the commissioners, all the elected officials during these meetings, so we at least know they're paying attention. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker.
Do we have another speaker?
Any other public comment on this item? Okay, hearing none. Okay, members, any thoughts on the public comment?
The reason that I did not include requiring people to be visible in that tech spec was twofold. One, it's intended to be a tech spec and not a list of how the tech spec should be applied. And secondly, I think it's important to recognize that particularly with commissioners, maybe not so with our elected officials, but particularly with commissioners, they may find themselves in a space where they don't have enough upload speed to actually broadcast video, and I think we need to be receptive to that. They also could have weird computer problems, like for whatever reason last week this software wouldn't work for me.
Okay, so I would say what's more of the issue here is to address that somebody doesn't just show up at the beginning of the meeting and then just kind of walk away from their computer and they're not even listening. You don't even know if they're present or in the room. And so they're being counted as quorum, but you're not able to see that they're participating in the meeting. That would be a violation of the Brown Act with regards to maintaining quorum. So if you notice that when we're in regular practice, the Board of Supervisors during public comment, you may see one supervisor get up and kind of go into the back room. Okay, now they've left the floor, so quorum is affected, but they can only do it one at a time. I believe that's their rule, that it can't be more than one at a time that can leave the floor in that kind of way. Here, I kind of have to agree with the public commenter on this one. I think if there is a video broadcast, that all it should be put into a gallery view, so all the supervisors or all the decision makers, commissioners, board members, whatever it is that are holding the meeting that are required for quorum can be seen. I think that that's important, or I don't know, maybe at least logged in, so they're actually active there. Don't know what to do with regards to audio only broadcasts. That's another issue. You call roll at the beginning. You hope that people, stay on. I don't know how. Maybe there needs to be another item to this list to address audio only broadcasts, live broadcasts.
I mean, there's still the issue of computer problems. Like, we were barely at quorum last week, and I had to reinstall this software, and it took a couple days. So if I wouldn't have been able to call in last week and had to log in through here, we would have just not had a meeting, and that doesn't seem better than me calling in.
So how about in our recommendations that we've already sent out around providing internet access to members of the public, that because the library is closed and meetings are virtual now, to assure that they have adequate bandwidth and connectivity, that we also include that for all the commissioners or all the members of meetings.
I mean, I'm not sure that computer failure makes sense as a way to mitigate that. Like, if you log in 5 minutes before the meeting and you're having computer problems, you can't get to the library and make the meeting on time.
No, I'm not talking about software. I'm talking about connectivity, because that was one of the items that you had mentioned, like if people have problems with upload speeds.
Right. So last week it wasn't a connectivity. It was just that the software kept crashing.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know what, maybe to, make sure that, clerks of those bodies, assure that members, are able to connect, and to either, assign IT tech support if needed before the meeting. I don't know. I'm just trying to find a way to address the issue.
I mean, I think that having language like strongly urge all public officials to commit to being videotaped leaves open the door that when something goes wrong and you have to call in, you don't have to cancel the meeting. But I understand other people may feel that we really need to enforce the people being on video. That's just where I'm at.
Okay. Well, here's the other aspect of the virtual conference platforms, is that almost all of them will also work within a regular web browser, which is how I'm connecting to this meeting today, through a web browser and not through the actual software. So there's always that option.
Yeah, last week I tried that option. I tried the computer, I tried the phone, and every single piece of Microsoft Teams software was refusing to play ball. Okay,
so your suggestion is that software issues should not be, if they drop below quorum because of a software issue, that should be overlooked?
No, my issue is that basically if you are serving on a board or commission and for whatever reason you need to call in, even though you should be urged to participate on video, that should be facilitated so that meetings don't get canceled because you get stuck at the babysitter's office and you could call in, but you can't do a video call.
Got it.
I don't know why you'd go to a babysitter's office, but never mind.
Yeah.
I even, just in a little comment about what Josh is talking about in connectivity, even today, I wanted to make sure that my software was working, and for about 15 minutes, I couldn't sign into Teams. I had to turn my computer on and off a couple of times, and then finally I got in, so I can kind of relate to those issues.
This is Matt, if I can make a comment.
Yeah, member Yankee.
part of what we've been doing at our work is doing online marriages with the public throughout this pandemic, which has been an interesting experience. But I have to echo what Member Wolf said, is that, you know, we are running into situations where everything seems to be working fine. The couple shows up and boom, there's a technical issue, right? And so I think we all have to have some type of contingency plan available for when that does occur.
Okay. So software issues dropped into ability to dial in and will not affect quorum. Does that encapsulate it?
That's where I'm at.
Okay. Member Yankee, is that what?
Yep, that's what I'm
considering too? Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got that. Okay. All right, very good. Anything else, members? Okay. So I would suggest that we, let's see, new items on here. We have Josh's new items. We have Fiona's new items. Okay. All right. Okay, that leads to the items that I'm working on. Due to my personal issues over the past week, I've not finished reviewing any of the information I've received with regards to active offices. But I would say that in lieu of that, in order to get something in the recommendations moving forward, maybe I would suggest that on websites for every department and office, that they notate if their office is open and closed, what hours, direct contact information or how to contact them, and how to make public information requests, public records requests. If they're using Next Request System, that be, you know, as prominent on their homepage as the commissions or oversight bodies are for that particular department or agency. I think that would be a good place to start. Thoughts? No thoughts on that. Okay, so is that silence is consent in a way? Okay.
Yep.
We'll do a formal motion on all these items. Okay. And then the next one was with regards to monitoring and enforcement with regards during the pandemic. I think, you know, monitoring, so there are two areas: monitoring of public records requests and monitoring of public meetings. I did mention at the last meeting that which we approved to be included in the minutes, is to see if the Board of Supervisors would extend authorization of the task force to invoke cease and desist orders as per the McKee Act of 2012, the California Act. And to remind everybody what that is, it allows members of the public to invoke cease and desist notices to any local agency, public body, if they deem that there's a violation of the Brown Act. And as far as other enforcement, you know, we have an ongoing enforcement, kind of light enforcement or soft enforcement with regards to compelling records to be disclosed if we deem them to be public. I think one of the maybe easier ways to get that officially, for the public to get that officially done without having to file a complaint with us, is to invoke, I think it's 67, hold on, let me get this. It's 6721. D, where the public, if the department or the agents, the custodian fails to comply or is incomplete, that they can, and they're declaring that the item is not public, they could make a petition to the supervisor of records. So be like one person in the city attorney's office that can be called, and they can get a fairly kind of instantaneous, hopefully instantaneous response as to whether the record is public or not. And that then they would be compelled to by the supervisor of records to they can actually immediately order the custodian to comply. The task force doesn't have quite that ability. We have the ability to compel them to comply, and that would be in E, I believe. Yeah. So so that's one recommendation I have for ongoing. With regard, is there any other authority that you think the task force should have as in providing oversight or enforcement, monitoring, so on and so forth? Okay. I'm gonna, for my two items, I'm gonna reopen public comment just to see if there's any other suggestions. So if you wish to make comment on the two last items, one is regarding listing active offices and active staff and how to contact them. And the other item is regard to monitoring and enforcement during the pandemic of the task force. Please unmute yourself by pressing *6. And Cheryl, I'll hand it to you.
Hello. Hello.
Any public comment?
Yes,
this is public comment. Anonymous, are you with us?
This is Dentist Tedessa.
Oh, hi, Mr. Tedessa. You ready to make your comment?
Yes, I am.
All right. Clock has started.
Go ahead.
Hi. Sunshine Task Force board members. It's been a while, but as you know, I filed complaints back in 2017 and back in also 2018. The enforcement provisions that we were talking about, I am very skeptical of because it has not worked for me. And in this age of George Floyd and others, I can sincerely say with clarity that I have not been treated equally with my complaints at the Sunshine Task Force, nor have my hard-fought determinations been really enforced. There's been excuse after excuse. Each one of my, say, for example, for the 2018 complaints, starting from the 45-day rule not being applied to two of them, but just one. Every single one of my complaints has a issue, has a serious issue. When I say an issue, I'm not talking about something that I said that's not on the record. I'm not talking about that. That's far from that, although that is part of it. I'm talking about complaints being delayed on purpose, complaints being not brought forward on purpose, and then when I do win, those complaints not being followed through. Excuses brought up as my videos are not able to be submitted. It's already hard enough for me to actually access the meeting, as you all know about the sheriff's office. Sheriff's officers taking my service animal in the middle of a meeting, for God's sake, in January 2nd, 2019. Nothing's been said about that. When I want to add more information about that particular issue, nothing happens. Excuses happen. So I am not. So far, what I've seen is I'm not confident in the enforcement provisions of the Sunshine Task Force. For me, nothing has changed.
Tedeschi, you have 25 seconds.
It has not gotten better. It's gotten worse. It has gotten worse. For my complaints at the Sunshine Task Force, to this day, I am suffering, and I'm actually worse off than I have had had I not even filed complaints. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment on these two items? Okay, seeing none. Okay, then let's get a motion for for the ASL for video broadcasts of public meetings and training for participants. Let's see, I think now we're at 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Actually, I would say 13. I'll read them through again. This would be for the items that Vice Chair Wolf brought forward. The virtual conference platform should be able to allow unlimited participants. Viewer able to, as these are what, principles, will you call them? No.
Specs?
Specifications, okay. Unlimited participants. 2, viewer able or participant able to raise their hand for public comment if they're logged into the web platform. Full muting available to the moderator. Video and or audio able to work on all major platforms and operating systems. Web accessibility and dial-in accessibility by phone. The software must be able to make recordings of the meetings available immediately and or automatically upload. Facilitated closed captioning using artificial intelligence. Live broadcast over SFGov TV. Memorialize the, if there's a chat box being made available, that those chats be memorialized, have a way to be able to save them, or just turn it off. The next one is masking of phone numbers to keep anonymity of callers, and review current systems in place that may provide that. Able to show all on a web platform, able to show all who are present in gallery view, where you can see all of the video feeds of the for the purposes of assuring quorum. If there are software, if committee or commission or meeting members are having software issues, they be allowed to dial in, and that quorum would be maintained. And the last one I add would be to assure they have bandwidth, enough internet connectivity to be able to, so that there are no issues during the meeting from their end. The next item would be to post active offices and active staff, including contact information and public records contact information on every homepage. And that's it. I did want to address one of the public commenters in this section with regards to, is the Sunshine Ordinance in active in full or in part? That is still being reviewed. At least for the Brown Act, it is. For public records, there are some kind of very detailed areas that are still being reviewed, with comparison of the mayor's executive orders and supplementals compared to the city attorney's advice memos, and also the mayor's separate allowances for certain departments and meetings to happen in relation to what the governor has in his executive orders. So that's it's pretty much in the weeds. It's some of it's very detailed. It's taken a little more time. But as far as so I can't fully answer that question at this point. I would say for the most part, in general, offices that are open are meant to provide as much records disclosure and delivery as possible. That's what I've been able to glean from most of the supplementals to the executive order. Okay, then that is it. I entertain a motion for those recommendations to be added and move forward to the Board of Supervisors for action.
I'll make that motion this is Matt. I'll move to add those recommendations.
So moved by member Yankee. Is there a second?
This is Lila. I'll second.
Second by member LaHood. Let's have public comment on the motion. If you wish to make public comment, please unmute yourself by pressing *6 if you're on the phone.
Anonymous number 1 here.
Okay, hang on a second.
And also, before we go into public comment, I have to sign off at 5:30. I have another hearing, a public hearing for my real job that is going to be starting. So I just wanted to make that announcement. This is member Testify.
Member Testify, it's 5:29 right now. Are you signing out?
I will sign off at 5:30.
Okay. Are we ready for Anonymous 1 comments? Hello?
Yes.
Anonymous, go ahead.
Are we ready? Okay. Anonymous, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, as always, for sending these recommendations to the board. And I know I'm a broken record, so I'll just remind that on June 10th, you did vote to include a request for the Board of Supervisors to terminate certain paragraphs of the fifth supplement to the Mayor's Emergency COVID-19 Proclamation, suspending certain portions of the Sunshine Ordinance. And as a reminder, per your June 10th meeting minutes, what you voted to do is ask the board to terminate paragraph 6, 7C and 7D of the fifth supplement to the Mayor's Emergency COVID-19 Proclamation. Please do remember to include that. I think you did also state about allowing commenters to remain anonymous, and that's important as well. All three of those things were there. Thank you very much. That is all.
I'm sorry, Anonymous, you asked the board to terminate what? I didn't get that.
Sure. So per your June 10th meeting minutes, it's paragraph 6, paragraph 7C, and paragraph 7D of the Mayor's fifth supplement to the Emergency COVID-19 Proclamation.
Very good. Any other public comment on this motion? Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. Member LaHood?
Aye.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Wolf?
Aye.
Member Wolf, aye. Member Tesfaye, are you still with us? Hello?
Nope.
Nope.
She's gone.
She's gone. Okay. Member Tesfaye gone. Member Hinsey?
Aye.
Member Hinsey, aye. Member Highland?
Aye.
Member Highland, aye. Chair Wolf?
Aye.
Chair Wolf, aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have a motion passed.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, let's call the next item.
Sunshine Ordinance Task Force member nomination introduced by Supervisor Peskin. I did include the language to that in the agenda.
Okay, great. So I just want to let everybody know that this has been introduced. It's going to take some time because it's got to go through the legislative process, through committee and whatnot, because it is a substantive change in activating the new charter amendment to allow the Board of Supervisors to make amendments to various open meetings and public records laws and codes in the city and county of San Francisco with regards to the Prop B measure around privacy first. This one, if you recall, we had agreed by taking action by motion to allow for this one time that the New America Media seat be transferred to the Northern California chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists. That is all it's meant to do. And anything there, we had requested and urged the Board of Supervisors to provide to include language that would state that this would be used only for this particular purpose, and that for any future use would be related to the Prop B, the provisions of the Prop B charter amendment. If you look at what was included in was introduced, you will see that that language is not included. And so,
okay, Bruce, just to let you know, that was the only page from the legislation that was introduced that had to do with this particular item.
Actually, it's in Legistar, the actual language that was introduced.
Okay, I don't have access to that. Okay.
Okay. Well, everybody has access to it, to Legistar. So, all right, let me. So anyway, the provisions that we had had sent forward were not included. I have contacted Supervisor Peskin's office, since they're the ones that submitted it for. Oh no, actually, it says president. So I guess maybe it was President Yee that introduced it, but we'll double check on that. Oh no, it sponsors Supervisor Peskin. So I have already put in for a meeting to try and understand or to figure out why or where the language we requested should be included. And it may come to pass that we would have to wait until the Rules Committee hears it. Well, it says here 7/23. So it'll be I guess July 23rd is when it'll be heard. Because it needs 30 day, it's under the 30-day rule. Okay, yeah. So at the earliest it would be heard is July 23rd. But in the meantime, I'll work with, continue to work with Supervisor Peskin's office and any other office that has an interest in this to assure that our language is included. Any discussion on this item? Okay, let's open it up for public comment. Any public comment on this item? There's no action, but I'll open it up for any comments. Remember *6 to unmute yourself.
Anonymous number 1.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm looking at the actual draft legislation on Legistar right now. I'm just going to read what you're actually changing into the record because it's important. It's literally like a 10-word change where the word New California Media is being removed from section 67.30A to instead say, quote, the local chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists. There's nothing else in the ordinance whatsoever. However, I do very much agree that it is inappropriate for the board to be making changes to the Sunshine Ordinance that are unrelated to privacy, protecting individuals' privacy, and that they should have, your formal advice for doing so. It's part of your charter is to give that kind of advice and about the administration of this ordinance. So I do hope that they put in something about what the SOTF thinks about this. I don't have any issue with the change itself, but it is concerning that the board is using this for things that are not related to protecting people's privacy. That's all. Thank you.
Any other public comment on this item? Okay. There's no more public comment. I'll just add with regards to the last commenter that there is a requirement in the Sunshine Ordinance for the task force to be either to provide or to be consulted with when it comes to amendments of the ordinance. And actually, the ordinance is one way. It basically, with regards that the Sunshine Task Force would provide amendments. So, I mean, if you want to interpret, it could be interpreted in a way that any and all amendments to the Sunshine Ordinance need to come to the task force first, and then the task force will, provide it will provide proposals for amendments to it. I mean, it's a shall. It's the task force shall propose to the Board of Supervisors amendments to this chapter. The question is there any provisions that other than what was allowed now in the charter amendment that allows the Board of Supervisors or anyone else to propose amendments? So I'm going to just leave that up in the air. I'm not going to try to interpret that.
This is Member Yankee.
Yes, Member Yankee.
Just quickly, I just was reading it and I noticed that in section D, it's part, I think, like the preamble or whatever you want to call it. It's on page 2. That they did note that we voted on November 6, 2019 to unanimously recommend this particular amendment.
Okay, but that's it. They didn't.
That's it. Right.
Yeah, they didn't. didn't finish the sentence. And include our
right. That's probably where that should be. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll continue to work with them on that. And we could, if you're interested, we can I'll send a follow-up based upon that to all the supervisors, reminding them of the action that we took. I think it's the least we could do. Okay. There's no action. Let's move to the next item.
Hang on. Okay, item number 6, administrators' reports, complaints, and communications. So I will tell you that, let's see, committee hearing schedule. I think it was presented at the last task force meeting in June, early June. That schedule has not changed. Below that, I have the number of complaints.
All right, before you move on, just on number 1, are you notating that committees are canceled?
No, it's subject to cancellation due to COVID-19. I talked to Victor about this, and we thought it would be smarter to list when they could take place, and then just take them off when we know they don't. I mean, the hearing, all the agendas are posted, the dates, the times, the call-in numbers. This is just a tentative schedule. It says tentative hearing schedule.
Oh, but for the schedule,
we should still be posting cancellation notices as they are regular meetings. We still need to note them as canceled on our website.
All right, I will do that.
Yes, absolutely. Because otherwise, there would be an expectation that a meeting took place.
Okay, I will take care of that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, petitions. Somehow, the cases that I had put on the chart that I have had disappeared, and it looked like I only had 1 case. In May, I actually had 3 cases, and we had like 6 cases in the month of June, most of which came in the last week. So I hadn't had a chance to open them.
Okay.
So they're pretty straightforward. 2 from Anonymous, the Anonymous that we did hear from tonight. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 that came in earlier this week. And then 1 that came in today, also by Anonymous who spoke tonight. So that's where we stand with those. Let me
okay.
The chart. We did have a public communication that I believe I included. I believe it's included. Yeah, it is. It's right after my report. It's literally following my report.
Okay.
The 1 communication, and then, we haven't had as many emails come in from people that are requesting information about the task force or any, we only had 152 emails between May 7 and June 12, and that's actually kind of on the lower end. We usually get over 200 in a 30-day period. But we're responding. They're emails from members of the public. A lot of emails are from, people on my team, that sort of thing.
Okay.
But it's on the lower end.
Okay,
and obviously there are no office visits either since I'm working from home. So, and my phone has been forwarded. So, I'm not even getting phone calls. I didn't get any phone calls this week.
Okay. I have a question with regards to item 4, but I want to address it to Member LaHood. Do you, these items could be heard in Compliance and Amendments Committee. Would you like to hold a hearing for those items so we could at least keep those items moving forward? Because they're not necessarily, it's not a full task force hearing, so to speak. These are compliance issues. And considering that has already approved an order of determination. I think that level of monitoring needs to continue.
I will say for this particular issue, David Steinberg has let me know that he is continuing to work with Mr. Mercedes on getting him his records, and I think, in fact, they have concluded he has gotten everything. But I can speak with, I can email David tomorrow morning and say, if this is concluded, we'd like to bring everybody before the CAC and get this taken care of once and for all.
Right, get closure on it.
Exactly.
I am happy to do that. It looks like we are next scheduled for July 28th. And as long as there are enough available for a committee meeting, happy to do that.
Okay, great.
Speaking of committee members, what are we going to do? Because, we've lost one member. We're down a total of 4. So I need to know who is actually going to participate in the CAC hearing. So far it's just Fiona and Lila. And is that enough, you guys, or does somebody else want to sit in?
Well, I usually default. It's either me or
Josh.
Wall.
Yeah.
Default.
Okay.
Which date is this meeting that we're talking about?
July 28th for the CAC. It may not happen depending upon communications from the parties. But go ahead.
I was going to say, Josh, if it does, David Steinberg is very responsible and very proactive about getting in touch with me. So if I were to email him tomorrow morning, I bet I would hear at the latest first thing on Monday. And I think he said he's ready to go to CAC. He's done everything he can to get Mr. Mercedes his records.
Okay.
My question would be, and I just want to make sure, this is Fiona, would we have administrative support for committee hearings? Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I'm here to do whatever it is you guys need to have done. So I will prepare an agenda and get all the records and get a confirmation from Mr. Mercedes and David Steinberg, who's at the Department of Public Works. And
I was just worried that for some reason I had heard that there were only room for 2 meetings a month with your office for admin time, so I was just clarifying that you would be available.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to do whatever's necessary.
Okay.
All right, great. And then the other item, I'll continue to review.
I did want to talk about Denta Tedeschi one last time. The last time, no? Okay.
Okay, so the next, okay, so let's open up for public comment.
Yes. Anonymous here.
Go ahead, sure.
This is sorry.
Hang on a second. Go ahead.
Hello. So 2 things. For me, it doesn't matter that I'm being identified as both the anonymous on the phone and that's the anonymous whose complaints they are. But just in the future, not all anonymouses are comfortable with that kind of cross-identification. So I'd suggest that you don't do that in the future. But regarding the item number 4 here, petitions, complaints referred from SOTF to committee, I was wondering how, I don't understand how or who I'm supposed to email to get the orders of determination that you have already issued in my favor against these city agencies to show up on this list so I can have them reviewed by you someday at the compliance committee, because you've issued them and they haven't done anything about them, and that's even before COVID. So thank you.
Let me ask you directly, Anonymous.
Anonymous number 2 would like to speak.
Okay, hold on a moment. Let me just address the other one first. Are any of those orders of determination been referred to compliance and amendments?
Is that question to me?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I have an order of determination where it says they're supposed to do something. I don't know what to do after that. Do I need to come back and do something else to get a referral?
So generally, at the time that the order of determination is made, a referral is made for follow-up to assure that, you know, whatever is been ordered happens. Sometimes orders of determinations are just violations, and there's nothing more to be done. So I would think that you would know which ones have been referred, but we can check absolutely to see which orders have direct referrals. There's not that many, unless it has been found that records that were withheld or need to be produced. And then there's usually a referral to CAC to assure that happens. And then if CAC determines that the violation still stands, then they'll make a recommendation to the full task force on how to dispense with that. You can respond.
Oh, sorry. This is the case where they redacted too much metadata, so there is something they still have to give me, and the other one was there were calendars to give me. So in both cases, there is something to give me. So yeah.
Okay, but it was found that so the question is, you know, have they given it to you or not? Since the
no, they haven't given me any of that.
Okay, so then then I would say if they haven't and there's still an issue, then I would say you can petition for the task force to have it reviewed by compliance and amendments.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next speaker.
Anonymous number 2 to speak. Ready?
Wait for the clock. Wait for the
Yeah.
clock. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The issue of the suspension of the enforcement of the contracts provision of the Sunshine Ordinance was discussed earlier in the meeting, and I also concur with the other anonymous speaker that we don't wish to be cross-identified. But I have a complaint regarding contracts, and I would assume, because this is a matter of some dispute, that it would not make any sense to go ahead with that complaint until the issue of where we stand with enforcement of contracts as public records is resolved. So I guess that is a question for anyone, the chair, who could answer that. I think that's really that's follow-up on what I said earlier about the problems with the parts of the Sunshine Ordinance that have been suspended. I also concur with the chair that it's very dubious that the Board of Supervisors are interfering or manipulating the charter amendment in ways that were not intended by the voters when they approved it. So thank you, and I hope to get some clarification on the matter of contracts, because if it's up in the air, I will not proceed with my complaint until it's resolved. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Please unmute yourself, *6. Okay, seeing none, I just want to respond to the last commenter. If your item was in relation to what like in the pandemic, once the orders, the emergency proclamation and emergency orders were issued, then that would be something that I think we would want to take up. If it was something that was existing prior to that, then yes, let's wait on that. But be it as it may, just I think our mentioning of it in our recommendations to the Board of Supervisors is going to carry some gravity to it. I did want to mention also, with regards to also a previous commenter, during general public comment that the mention of the MTA special meeting that provided no public comment, those kinds of anecdotal complaints, I think are important for helping us create the recommendations. Again, I've asked if you've heard anything in your general daily travels, or people have emailed you directly, or what have you. I think it helps us formulate a needed policy that the Board of Supervisors can approve. So that is one as an example with regards to public comment on virtual platforms that needs to be that I'll include in the recommendations as a example. I think whatever examples are available, I think helps the Board of Supervisors, nod their head one way or another. Okay, anything else on the administrator's report? Okay, let's call the next item.
Item number 7. I'm sorry?
No action. Go ahead.
Okay. Item number 7, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items by members of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force.
Okay, members, don't all speak at once. Anything?
This is Lila. I know we're discussing the scheduling of our next meeting. Do we have a date set for that, or a couple that we're looking?
Hello?
Hi, sorry, did I get cut off? Do we have a date set for our next meeting?
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
The third week in July is actually the week of July 12th. It's actually 2.5 weeks. If we go the following week, it's going to be 3.5 weeks. So I don't know how you guys want to work this.
Well, let me ask everyone, do you feel that there's any more work with regards to making recommendations to the Board of Supervisors that would require us to meet twice a month?
This is Member Yankee.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I think at this point, since we have quite an extensive list of recommendations and suggestions, I think it's worth submitting these to the board and then seeing where that goes before we meet again. And I think perhaps that'll give the board time to weigh in on it and then give us additional, places to have our next discussion. But until the board gets them and has a chance to weigh in, I'm not sure, at least from my standpoint, that there's a lot more we can do at this point.
Okay, great. I would say, I think we can drop down to just meeting once a month at this time, but we do need, as Vice Chair Wolf likes to remind us to try to find a way to get back to regular business. So we don't, we have a lot on our plate. We have now a considerable queue, I would say, not necessarily backlog, but a queue that has been halted since we were stopped the meeting back in March. So I would think about how we should do that. And if you have suggestions, I would say please forward them, and we'll we'll see what we can cobble together to at least maybe start hearing a couple of cases, a couple of files per meeting moving forward. And if that means, if we can start meeting, do it twice a month in order to catch up. Who knows how long this thing is going to last, that we have to meet virtually. So we're going to have to find a way to normalize how we, our general business. Any further comment on that? No? Okay. Let's open it up for public comment on this item. There's no action on the floor, but go ahead. Please unmute yourself by pressing *6.
Anonymous number 1.
Go ahead.
If the task force is able, and I know it's a huge commitment on your part, and it's very appreciated by those of us in the public who are trying to get records and notice of meetings. My opinion is twice a month, but shorter meetings where you're not going until 9, 10 p.m. And I know I've been in some of those. Maybe that works better for everyone, and that might be something you guys can try out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public speakers? Any other comment? Public comment? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the next item.
Item number 8, adjournment.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn. This is Matt.
By Member Yankee. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Wolf.
Josh?
Vice Chair Wolf. Yes, second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, no opposed. Okay, we are adjourned at
Okay,
6:02.
Oh, you have 6:02?
Yeah, I have 6:02. Well, whatever
right,
you
well,
have.
I have
Fine.
6:01. Okay.
That's all right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good evening.
Be safe.